Ever get that instant chill, like from a picture? That's 112 Ocean Avenue for me, the Amityville house.
Gets you every time right.
Today, we're really going deep. Because this place, it's not just a haunted house story. It's true crime messed up with the paranormal.
Yeah, untangling those two is, well, that's the challenge, isn't it?
Exactly. So where else to begin but the DeFeo murders? 6 family members, gone November 13th, 1974.
A date seared into that house's history, for sure.
And the fact that nobody heard anything. Parents, 4 kids, all shot, .35 caliber rifle, no silencer. How's that even possible?
That silence, that's often the first thing people latch onto. Now, given all that happened, it's unusual, sure, multiple shots, no muffling, but not impossible. Think about it. Time of night, the way sound travels in a house, even just how loud the neighborhood usually was.
Okay, yeah, makes sense. But it's the way they were found that gets me. Face down, almost like
Aye.
posed, chilling.
You're spot on to focus on that. Huge red flag for investigators. 6 victims, no signs of a struggle, means this wasn't some chaotic thing. It was planned, controlled. Adds a whole other level of awful, you know?
And then there's Butch DeFeo, 23 years old, confesses, gets put away for life 6 times over. But even now, the sources we've got, they say different stuff like, was it money he was after, family drama, something else totally. Why is that important? That we don't really know.
Because we got to make sense of things, right? Especially the senseless stuff. When there's no clear answer, bam, speculation rushes in. That's the true crime hook, and in Amityville's case, that's the breeding ground for all the ghost stories that follow.
Which brings us to the Lutzes. A year later, they buy that house, dirt cheap, like 80 grand. Seems too good to be true, you know?
And sometimes it is.
December 1975, in they move. Young couple, 3 kids. You'd think, fresh start, right? But those 28 days, that's what made Amityville infamous.
And they weren't shy about telling people what went down. Cold spots, awful smells, but you couldn't find the source. Even this weird green slime coming out of the walls.
Oh, and the flies. Everywhere, especially the sewing room, the Lutzes said. And then there's that 3.15 a.m. thing. George Lutz, he always woke up then. Just a creepy coincidence, or what?
Hits on a big question, right? Can a place hold on to bad stuff, like the energy of what happened there? Because 3.15, that's about when they think the DeFeos.
That's
It's
not
hard to call it just coincidence, even for a skeptic.
like those families. They're linked somehow, across time.
Exactly. That's what gets us about haunted places, right? The fear that maybe, just maybe, we're not alone. Something else is there.
And the Lutzes, it went way past feelings, right? Kathy, she aged super fast, they said. George, he saw this pig demon thing, called it Jody. Any truth to that stuff, or are we in crazy land now?
That's where it gets real iffy. Their stories are detailed, emotional, yeah, but nobody else backs them up. Not really. Plus, George Lutz, he was into the occult even before. Hard to separate that from what he thought he experienced.
So spooky stories, but then come the skeptics. Even Butch DeFeo's own lawyer, William Weber, he said they made some stuff up. Money grab, plain and simple.
Can't ignore that angle. Scary stories sell books, get you movie deals. There was definitely a reason to maybe, shall we say, enhance the truth, if not outright lie.
But what about the priest then? He goes there to bless the house, and even he said he heard a demonic voice. What's he got to gain by lying?
Good point, and that's the wrench in the hoax theory, right? Why would people with nothing to gain invent this? Some folks, they say Amityville, it's collective delusion. Basically, the belief itself, all the fear, it snowballs. Especially in a place already soaked in tragedy, people start experiencing the same delusion.
Like the house itself is contagious or something.
In a way. Power of suggestion, you know? The weight of expectation, especially somewhere like that, it can make you see things, hear things, or maybe those things were always there, who knows?
So we've got this one house, right, in Amityville, and it's like ground zero for true crime meets the paranormal.
The DeFeo murders, the Lutzes, and all their stories, real or not, it grabbed people. And the media, well, they fanned those flames.
Even after the Lutzes left, people were drawn to that house.
Oh yeah, sold over and over. Even the address got changed, like it was trying to hide.
You can scrub the walls, but some stains.
They run deep. Good way to put it. Because that's where true crime, the paranormal, it all kind of blurs together. That house becomes like a mirror for our fears. All that unknown stuff, the things that go bump in the night, it's all right there.
And we eat it up, right?
Yeah.
A good ghost story. It's irresistible. We want there to be a reason, an explanation, even when there's no way to explain it.
Totally. And the less we know for sure, the more those stories take hold. Think about it. 3.15 in the morning, that pig demon Jody, that creepy green slime, those details, the sensory stuff, that stays with you way longer than any facts.
Like, that's why horror movies work so well. They get right under your skin, hit those primal nerves, so you mix that with a real-life horror like the DeFeos. No wonder people are still obsessed.
And it is still going strong, isn't it? Decades later, the skeptics, the debunking, none of it matters. Amityville's still here, getting adapted, re-examined.
Yep.
Which proves the point, I think.
No such thing as bad publicity.
Hmm.
Maybe that goes for hauntings, too. More controversy, more debate, the harder it is to forget.
Could be. And it brings us back to that need to understand. Even if the Lutzes made it all up, like some people think, that takes some serious effort, right? Someone deliberately using a tragedy like that. Almost creepier than a real haunting, if you ask me.
Circles back to Butch DeFeo then. Still don't know why for sure. And when there's no answer, people fill in the blanks themselves, which just feeds the whole Amityville thing, doesn't it?
That missing why, it leaves a hole. If we don't know why the murders happened, then something darker being in charge. Well, that's almost comforting. Makes the chaos make sense, even if the answer is terrifying.
We like to think we're logical, but a good ghost story, man, gets us every time. Especially when it's tied to something as awful as what happened in Amityville. So, what do we take away from all this?
To me, Amityville screams, think critically. We are bombarded with information these days, right? True crime, paranormal, it's everywhere. Easy to just believe, get swept up in it all, but cases like this, they remind us to slow down, ask questions.
Don't just take it at face value. What's the evidence? Is there another side to this?
Exactly. Question everything, look for proof. And remember, everyone's got an angle, even with this stuff. A good story is powerful, but knowing fact from fiction, that's crucial, especially with something as serious as Amityville.
So, it's not just a ghost story then. It's like a warning about how we consume stories.
Yeah.
Media literacy, critical thinking, all that. A haunting, but for our minds and how easily they're tricked.
Well said. And that might be the scariest part. We're faced with our own weaknesses, our desire to believe, even when we kind of know better.
Makes you think, huh? And get this, 112 Ocean Avenue, that house, it's still there. Fixed up, new address, trying to outrun its past.
Yeah.
But some stories,
They're stubborn.
echoes that never quite fade away.
All right. Amityville shows us some stories, true or not, they take on a life of their own. And maybe that's the biggest mystery of all.